live from the new sports betting capital of the world.
You might be from Texas, but I'm from New Jersey.
Benny Ricciardi is here to break down the day's betting board for you.
Let's go, Jerry. Go!
Taking a first look at the day's bets, it's time for the FTN Betting Show. Welcome to the FTN Betscast for Monday, May 16th here at FTN Bets, sponsored by our friends over at Sleeper. Sleeper is the fastest growing fantasy platform today with millions of players, and now you can win on Sleeper by playing in their new over-under game. It's really easy. First, in any sport, you're going to choose two or more players that you like, and you're going to pick whether they're going to go over or under their listed total. So, for example, the number of points in basketball, the number of hits in baseball. Then you're going to choose an amount of money that you want to enter into the contest. If you pick correctly, you can win anywhere from 2 times all the way up to 20 times your money if you go 5 for 5 and get them all right on the day. But the main reason why I'm excited about the over-under game on Sleeper is that it's the only app where I can join my buddies' contest and play together. It's got a built-in group chat where I can see what you're playing, you can see what I'm playing, and we could all see what the guy who won 3 or 4 days in a row is playing so that we could follow along. It's insanely fun when everybody's riding it out together and rooting for the same things to happen. So stop what you're doing and download the Sleeper app now to play in their new over-under game and have fun with your friends and make a little bit of money. On your mobile phone, join our listener group on Sleeper at sleeper.com/FTNbets, and Sleeper will automatically match your first deposit up to $100. Again, go to sleeper.com/FTNbets, and you'll get a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions do apply, so see Sleeper's terms of use for the details. Today is a very interesting day in the sporting world. We had 2 Game 7s take place yesterday in the NBA, and therefore, there are no NBA games today for us to talk about. We will talk about the NBA games tomorrow when they actually are starting up for the championship of the East and the West here. But today we're going to do something a little different. Last Thursday, the schedule came out for the NFL. So today we're going to take a look at the AFC. We're going to look at some of the projected win totals that our good buddy Jeff Ratcliffe put together for us over at FTN Bets. And we're going to compare them to what the sports books are offering and see where we can find some value, both in the win total market and in the division winner market. So let's start with the AFC East here. 4 teams in the AFC East, and I'm going to start with my favorite team, the New York Jets. Jeff has the Jets projected for 6.8 wins on the season, which means that there is some value to be had out there in the market. You can get the Jets over 5.5 wins on BetMGM at -145, or you can get them on 6 wins, -110 on Unibet, BetRivers, and Sugar House. At 6.8, if you take the 6 there, you do have a chance that you're going to wind up with a push, which is probably the most likely thing. But there's also a chance that this is going to go over there. Like I said, they are at 6.8, and we can get them at -110 on Unibet. So I think that's a pretty good price there for the New York Jets. I think they're one of the better values, especially in the AFC East, but one of the better values in the AFC overall, based on where our projection is to where their number is. I'd rather take the 6 at -110 than the 5.5 at -145. I mean, again, I think it's just a few too many basis points for that extra half a win there. I don't mind giving up, I don't mind getting a push and getting my money back at the end, but I would much rather have a nicer payout if the Jets do get to 7 wins or more this year. Next up, the New England Patriots. We have them projected for 8.9 wins on the season. 8.5 is the number there, -120 on PointsBet and MGM. Best place to play the over if you're interested in the New England Patriots there. There's really no value on that for me. I mean, 8.5 is the number, 8.9 is our projection, so we're a little bit above. But remember, you're paying -120 juice on it. It's not like it's even money. If it was even money, then yeah, I'd be like, there is a little bit of value there. But at -120, 8.9 projection, 8.5 is the number. There's really no value there, so I'm going to pass on that one. Pretty much the same thing with the Miami Dolphins, although a little bit to the underside here. We have Miami predicted for 8.3 wins on the year. You can play an under 8.5 at +110. There's a little bit more value there on the under 8.5 than there is on the New England side. But again, not really a ton there. We do predict them to go under a little bit at 8.3. You're getting +110 juice, so you are being paid to take that. But at the same point in time, it's just not something that's jumping off the page to me here. So I don't really like taking any side of the Miami Dolphins number here. And then the last one is the Buffalo Bills in the AFC East. Buffalo 11.6 is our projected number. 11.5 is the number that the books are offering. Minus 120 on PointsBet is the best place to get that. I really don't think there's a lot of value there. Again, we're projecting 11.6. The books have it at 11.5. Again, juiced up to minus 120. Not really any value, anything that we can look at there. As for the AFC East as a whole, there's really only one team I expect to win this division this year, and it's Buffalo Bills. Minus 179 on Buffalo to win the division this year. I mean, again, is it a great number? No, not at all. Is it a number that is off, though? No. I mean, I actually thought it should be minus 200. I have Buffalo with a 66% chance of winning this division. So minus 200 is where the odds should be. And minus 179, there is a little bit of value there. I mean, we're getting 21 basis points below where the fair value in the market should be. So if you want to take the Buffalo Bills at minus 179, I'm not going to hate it there. I do think there's some value. So let's move on and talk about the AFC South here. First team up is going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars. 6.1 is our projected win total for them. You could play an under 6.5 plus 110 at Bet Rivers and Sugar House here. I mean, again, I think it's fair value. I don't think it's a great number there, but it is something that you can look at. My favorite number in the AFC South is actually going to be on the Tennessee Titans. 8.4 is our projected number for them. Under 9 is paying plus 110 here on Unibet, Sugar House, and Bet Rivers. I like that under 9 being at plus money, considering that we're at 8.4. That 0.6 wins right there. That is below the the number that we have here. That's actually one of the bigger margins that we have. I think the biggest margin difference in wins is like 0.8 or so. So 0.6 puts Tennessee as one of those teams that has one of the bigger discrepancies. And the discrepancy does happen to be to the under here. So I like under 9 wins for the Tennessee Titans, plus 110 on Unibet, Sugar House, and Bet Rivers. Next one up, the Indianapolis Colts. 9.2 wins is our projected number on the Indianapolis Colts. You can get them under 9.5 wins for plus 115 on BetMGM. Not a lot of value there either, but there is a little bit of value, just like the Tennessee side of it. Again, the number isn't as far off. It's only 0.3 there, but you are getting paid plus 115, so that's a little bit better. I still think under 9 wins on Tennessee is the better way to play that. But again, if you want to take the under 9.5 wins on Indianapolis, plus 115 at BetMGM is the place to do it. And then the last team in this division is the Houston Texans. 4.9 is our projected win total for them. To go over, I think they're plus 103 on Unibet to get 5 wins. I mean, if you really want to mess with that, go ahead. I don't, I mean, again, I think that it is properly priced. I don't really think that there's any value, but I also don't think there's value to the downside. I don't think this is something I'd want to bet the under on either. I'm just going to be avoiding it altogether. The Texans are an absolute mess. I would not be shocked if they don't win 5 games this year, but that's the number that is being projected, and that is the number that they have right there. As for who's going to win the division here, Tennessee is plus 175. Indianapolis is plus 100. You can get that plus 175 on Tennessee over at DraftKings. Probably the best place to play this here. Again, I think Indy does win this division. They are even money on Caesars and minus 105 to minus 125 on any other book out there. So if you want to play the Indianapolis Colts to win this division, like I said, even money on the Colts to win. They are our highest projected win total at 9.2. Again, Jacksonville and the Texans would need a major turnaround in order for them to compete. So it's really a 2-horse race between Indy and Tennessee. I like the under on 9 wins for Tennessee, which just makes it a little bit stronger for me to like Indianapolis at plus 100 on Caesars to win the AFC South as the best play there. Now let's talk about the AFC West first, because I think this is a very, very interesting conference this year. The lowest win total in the AFC West belongs to the Las Vegas Raiders at 8.8 wins. You could actually play that over 8.5 at, let's see, what do they have them at? Over 8.5 at minus 105 on PointsBet is the best place to play them. And remember, of the 4 teams in this division, that is the lowest projected win total at 8.8. That says something. This is going to be a lot like the NFC West was last year, I think, where all 4 teams were in contention for not only winning the division, but also to get into 1 or 2 of the, wild card playoff spots here. I think that this is going to be the division where, every one of these teams has something to say about the outcome come December. And it's really going to come down to how they all finish in the last 4 or 5 games of the season there. So the second lowest win total in the AFC West actually belongs to the Kansas City Chiefs, which is very interesting to me that they would be the second lowest win total because they also happen to be the team with the lowest odds to win overall, to win the AFC West. 9.7 for Kansas City is one of the biggest discrepancies we have in our projected win totals and the numbers that the books are offering. You could play an under 10.5 Kansas City wins for plus 100 over at point bet. And I think that's a really good bet here this year. Remember, they lost a lot on the offensive side. Almost all of their receivers are gone. They're going to have almost all new receivers out there playing with Patrick Mahomes. It may be a little bit of a struggle for them early in the year in order for them to, kind of get up to speed and get onto the level that they were with guys like Tyreek Hill and, Byron Pringle. Like all those guys are gone right now. I think Mecole Hardman might be the only one that's still left, but, he's more of a gimmick gadget kind of guy anyway. They did draft a wide receiver. They brought in a guy in free agency. They have some players that they're going to throw out there. But again, it's going to be interesting to see how quickly this team can kind of gel together. You still have Patrick Mahomes. You still have Travis Kelce in there. But again, I do think that the Kansas City Chiefs are a very interesting team this year. One that I think people they may be overvaluing a little bit here in the early season. So like I said, I like the under there on points bet. 2 teams in the AFC West are actually tied with 10.2 projected wins this season. And the one that actually has the longer odds to win the division is the Denver Broncos at plus 275 on Bet Rivers and Sugar House. That's the best place you can get the Denver Broncos with their 10.2 tied 10.2 leading projection here. You can play an over 10 wins on the Broncos on Sugar House for minus 120. Bet Rivers has it there as well. Over 10.5, you can get plus money, plus 135 on points bet for over 10.5. I think that's an interesting one to look at here as well. Remember, the one thing that this team really needed last year was a quarterback. They traded to get, Russell Wilson in there this year. They have some good receivers. They have some good running backs there. They have some good weapons. The defense is not as good as it had been in its prime in its heyday, but it's still well above average here. This is a very good Denver Broncos team. Like I said, I don't know if I want to take them at plus 275 to win the division, but I am contemplating it. I do think it's a decent number to look at there, but I do like the over on their wins. I'll take the over 10 there. Give me the push on the 10, minus 120, Sugar House or Bet Rivers. And then that brings us to the last team, the team with the second shortest odds behind the Kansas City Chiefs to win the division, and that's the Los Angeles Chargers. Let's see. The Chargers are plus 230 to win the West here. So that's the best number you can find on them. 10.2 is our projection. Over 10, minus 134 on Bet Rivers and Sugar House. So they're actually looking at the Chargers to be a little bit shorter of a favorite than the Denver Broncos are. So that plus 230 to win the West there on the Chargers actually makes a little more sense than it does on Denver. And it makes more sense given the numbers that we get from Jeff Ratcliffe's projections here, as he has the Chargers at 10.2 wins and the Chiefs at only 9.7. You could play an over 10.5 wins on the Chargers, which I think is the way to actually go here. You're getting a good payout too, plus 120 on BetMGM. Now, again, you need them to win 11 games. If they win 10 games, you're going to lose. Whereas if you take the minus 134 on Bet Rivers, you at least get a push on the 10 wins there. But I'm not really worried about that. I'd rather take them for 11 wins, over 10.5. Give me that plus 120 payout on BetMGM. I like that with the Chargers. And remember, if you agree with the numbers that Jeff has, you have at least 2 teams here who are half a win higher projection than the Kansas City Chiefs, and that's the Denver Broncos and the Los Angeles Chargers. And even the Raiders are within 1 win of them. So this is one of the tightest divisions from top to bottom. 1.5 wins is all that separates any of these teams in the projection. The best team and the worst team here is only separated by 1.5 wins. So this should be one of the most competitive conferences, or one of the most competitive divisions in the AFC conference this year. And I think anybody has a chance to win this. So it'll be interesting. We should see at least one of these teams. Obviously one of these teams is going to make it there, whoever wins the division. But I think we see at least 1 wild card, if not 2, come out of this division this year. And that brings us to the last division we're going to talk about here, which is the AFC North. You have the defending champion Cincinnati Bengals in this division. They have the highest projection of any team in this division with 10.7 projected wins. Also, one of the better bets here. You can get over 9.5 wins on the Cincinnati Bengals, minus 110 on points bet here today. Again, we have them projected at 10.7. Over 9.5 is minus 110 on PointsBet. You're talking about like a 1.2 difference there between our projection and the number out there. To get that at minus 110, I think is a very, very good value. So I like this Cincinnati Bengals team quite a bit here. Over 9.5 wins, minus 110 on PointsBet. That's one that I'm going to be putting into the bet tracker when we get off the show here today. Cincinnati is tied with the Baltimore Ravens as the shortest odds to win the AFC North this year. They are plus 220 at Caesars is where you can find both of those actually are plus 220 at Caesars. Baltimore, we have half a win behind Cincinnati at 10.2 wins, which again, still a very, very good number there. I think that's ties them for the third highest win total in the AFC behind Buffalo at 11.6 and Cincinnati at 10.7. You could play an over on Baltimore too at 9.5. Although here's the difference, right? Like Cincinnati's over at 9.5, minus 110 on PointsBet. Baltimore's over at 9.5 is minus 130 on PointsBet. So PointsBet even thinks Baltimore has a better chance to win 10 games this year than the Cincinnati Bengals do. Again, the number on Caesars for both of these teams to win the division is going to be plus 220. So according to these numbers here, according to our numbers, we like Cincinnati a little bit better if you want to put your money down there. According to the odds that the books are offering, the books like Baltimore a little bit more to be the team that winds up winning the AFC North this year. The next team up here is one, this is interesting. The one team who you can't really find any win total numbers for this year is the Cleveland Browns. And I'll tell you why. It's, they traded to get Desean Watson in there, but we still don't know whether or not Desean Watson is going to be able to play. He still has that, very serious sexual allegations hanging over his head. I mean, whatever you think about that whole situation doesn't matter, but it's very tough for the books and the bettors to kind of price this team right now when you don't know who their quarterback's going to be. Desean Watson, the last time we saw him out on a football field, was an absolute stud, carrying a horrible, horrible, horrible Texans team to a pretty decent record. And I think he has more talent around him, definitely on the defensive side of the ball, but probably on the offensive side of the ball as well in Cleveland, if he's going to be able to be the starting quarterback and if he comes back after a year off and looks anything like the guy we saw the last time he put on shoulder pads and was out there on the field. There's a lot of ifs there. If you can't understand, I don't exactly know whether or not he's going to play. I don't know how well he's going to play. We haven't seen this man play football in almost 2 years at this point. So, really, what can we expect out of Desean Watson? I think Desean Watson will be fine if he's available to play. This has more to do with me with the legal stuff hanging over his head than it does with anything with his athletic ability. Desean Watson's an absolute stud. I'm not worried about it. If he comes back and he's anywhere near the guy that he was in Houston, this Cleveland team could be scary and go well over this total. But again, at the moment, you can't bet on this anyway. So we have it projected at 8.8. None of the books have a number up for this team right now. Based on what we're looking at and seeing here, there's a good chance this number is probably going to be 8.5. It may wind up being 9.5. And that really all depends on, whether or not Desean Watson is going to play. If he doesn't play, you could see this number get hit on the board. I don't know, maybe 6.5 or 7.5 wins right there for the Cleveland Browns. Again, until we get a little more information, not really much we could say. And that brings us to the last team in the AFC North, and that is the Pittsburgh Steelers. New quarterback in there in Pittsburgh, a couple new pieces to the offense as well. The defense is largely intact and very good defense that they did have last year. I just don't know if with the rookie assuming the rookie quarterback is even their quarterback this year, maybe he gets beat out. I don't know. But I just don't see them with the rookie quarterback making that big of a run. They're going to be a team that probably relies on the run quite a bit this year. They're going to rely on their defense quite a bit this year. I just don't think they have the firepower, though, to compete with some of the other teams, not even in the AFC, but just some of the other teams in their division. You got to play Baltimore twice. You got to play Cincinnati twice. And if Desean Watson's there, you got to play a Desean Watson-led Cleveland Browns team twice. How many wins can you really expect the Pittsburgh Steelers to get there? I think best case scenario, you hope they split, but most likely they're probably going to end up with only 1 or 2 wins in their division. That's going to leave them a lot of work to do with the other teams that they play this year. And I just don't think they're going to be able to get it done. So there you go. That wraps it up for our look at the AFC the AFC win totals and the AFC divisional leaders there here at the FTN Betscast. There will probably be another day at some point this week where there's a day off for the NBA games. And when there is, we'll go and check out the NFC. But for now, remember, get over to sleeper.com/FTN bets. Join our sleeper group over there. Join our group chat. And then remember, deposit up to $100. They will match that $100 for you, giving you $200 to play with if you want to get the max bonus out of it. There's not much to really look at here today, but starting tomorrow, we'll have some NBA games back up, and we'll be able to make some plays over there on Sleeper and play in some of those contests. So for Benny Ricciardi, signing off for the FTN Betscast for Monday, May 16th, here at FTN Bets, sponsored by our good friends at Sleeper. Good luck, everybody.
Live from the new sports betting capital of the world.
You might be from Texas, but I'm from New Jersey.